right, let's talk about something we've all felt. You see the news, you hear the official numbers, but then you look at your bank account and you're thinking, wait a second, something just doesn't add up here. Well, today, we're going to explain exactly why that is. I mean, think about it. The news reports, 7% inflation? But your grocery bill, that feels like it's up 30%, right? That number they're giving us sounds, I don't know, almost gentle compared to what you're actually paying for stuff. It's this huge disconnect, and it feels less like some boring statistic and more like a mystery we're all trying to solve every single day. And look, this isn't just in your head. It's not just a vague feeling. People are literally tracking this stuff. Check out this user on Reddit. They're saying, hey, I used to buy eggs for less than $1 a dozen. Now they're $3. I mean, do the math. That's not 7%. That's a 200% increase. It's these kinds of real-world, tangible examples that make those official numbers feel so totally out of touch. And it's not just eggs, right? It's everything. Here's another one. Soda packs literally doubling in price. People are seeing this across the board, from the absolute essentials to just simple treats. So this isn't some small rounding error. It's a massive gap between the story we're being told and the reality we're all living every time we swipe our card.
Okay, so let's just get this straight right now. You are not imagining it. This chasm between the official data and our daily lives, it's real. And it feels like it's getting wider. So the big question is, why? Is the data itself just wrong? Is somebody manipulating it? Or is the truth just way more complicated than a single headline number could ever tell us? Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand this gap, we first have to peel back the curtain on how the government actually measures something like inflation.
So where does that official number even come from? Well, it pretty much all boils down to one single, really powerful metric that's supposed to give us a snapshot of the entire U.S. economy. And that's the Consumer Price Index, or what you hear about as the CPI. Now, the basic idea is actually pretty simple. Just imagine a big shopping cart, they call it a market basket, and it's filled with all the stuff an average person buys. Gas, groceries, TVs, haircuts, you name it. The CPI just tracks how the total price of that basket changes over time. Sounds straightforward, right? Well, what they put in that basket and how they add it all up, that's where things start to get, really complicated.
Yeah, see, the way they calculate this stuff has some, let's say, interesting rules that don't always feel like real life. For one, it's a weighted average. So a big price drop on a TV you might buy once every 10 years can actually cancel out the fact that your weekly grocery bill is soaring. Then there's something they call substitution. The model basically assumes that if beef gets too expensive, you'll just switch to chicken. No big deal. And get this one, they use hedonic adjustments for quality. This means if the new iPhone has a better camera but costs the same as the last one, they count that as a price drop in the inflation data. Seriously. And on top of all that, the basket of stuff they're even tracking can be years out of date, totally missing how we actually shop today.
And you know what's crazy? These aren't new complaints. This isn't just us, the consumers, being skeptical. For decades, top economists, even official government commissions, have been saying, hey, the CPI has some serious built-in flaws that can really warp the final number. I mean, check this out. All the way back in 1996, that's a long time ago, a major government commission, the Boston Commission, found that the CPI was probably overstating inflation by more than a full percentage point every single year because of these exact kinds of biases. But look, technical issues with the data, that's really only one piece of this puzzle. The story gets a whole lot messier when politics starts to directly influence not just the data, but the prices we pay. Okay, so this is where we pivot. We're moving away from just how they measure prices to how prices are actively shaped by government policy. Because here's the thing. Sometimes those price hikes you're seeing aren't just the market doing its thing. Sometimes they're a direct political choice.
So let's look at a really clear example from late 2025. The Trump administration rolls out these huge new tariffs on a bunch of products that seem, kind of random. We're talking a 100% tariff on imported drugs, 25% on heavy-duty trucks, and 50% on kitchen cabinets.
At first glance, you'd think, okay, drugs, trucks, cabinets, what's the connection? The list of industries they chose to protect looks totally random, but as is so often the case, when you start to follow the money, a pattern starts to emerge, and it's a very, very clear one.
And here it is. The very industries that got these massive tariff protections just so happen to be major political donors. The pharmaceutical lobby and its big companies, they donated over $6 million. Big players in the furniture and cabinet world, over 25 million. The trucking industry groups, over 1 million. It's not exactly a subtle correlation, is it?
Yeah, this is pretty much a textbook example of what analysts call pay-to-play protectionism. It's like policy is being auctioned off to the highest bidder. These tariffs shield specific American companies from foreign competition, which, guess what, lets them jack up prices for you, the consumer. It's a straight line, folks, from campaign donations directly to higher prices at the store. Okay, so we've seen how politics can shape economic policy, which hits our wallets. But what happens when politics starts to target the economic data itself?
This, right here, is where the story takes a really alarming turn. Because now we're moving beyond just influencing the economy and into the territory of influencing the referees, the official scorekeepers, who are supposed to just tell us what's happening. So look at how fast this went down in September 2025. First, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, revises some jobs data downwards, signaling a bit of an economic slowdown. Almost immediately, President Trump goes public, accusing them of rigging the numbers. And then, bam, he fires the head of the BLS, Erica McEntrefer. And who does he replace her with? A political loyalist. The message sent was crystal clear. Give me good news, or you're fired. And listen to what the fired commissioner herself had to say about this. She warned of the danger, and she put it perfectly. This isn't just political drama. It has serious, real-world economic consequences. She points out that historically, when countries lose trust in their own data, it leads to crisis. It leads to higher inflation and higher borrowing costs for absolutely everyone. You're basically shattering the foundation that a stable economy is built on. You know, there's actually a name for this tactic: statistical intimidation. And it's so dangerous because it sends a chilling message that ripples out from that one agency to all the government bodies that handle data. The message is simple. Your primary job is no longer to be accurate. Your job is to make the people in power look good. And this is what's so scary. It puts U.S. economic data in a really dangerous place. For decades, it was considered the global gold standard. Independent, trustworthy. You contrast that with data from places like China or Russia, which everyone just kind of knows is state-controlled propaganda. The huge fear now is that the U.S. is heading down that same path, where our own data becomes just another tool for a political narrative, instead of a reflection of reality. And this loss of trust isn't just some abstract academic problem. Stanford economist Amit Seru actually calls it a credibility recession, and it's already changing how money moves around the entire planet. So what happens when you can no longer trust the map? Well, for global investors and the big financial markets, the answer is pretty simple. You stop using that map and you build your own. And this is how the real world is already adapting to this new reality. When the official numbers become unreliable, the big money players, they go around them. They start using their own data, real-time info from credit card companies, satellite imagery of parking lots, you name it. Hedge funds are literally building their own synthetic GDP models, so they can either double-check or just flat-out ignore the official reports. And this means money starts flowing differently. It moves away from once sacred safe havens like U.S. Treasury bonds and into things like gold or other foreign currencies. It's a fundamental rewiring of the entire financial system, and it's all being driven by this collapse of trust. And all of this brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. When the official numbers just don't match what you see in your own wallet, and the institutions that are supposed to be the referees are being attacked, the problem becomes so much bigger than just economics. It's really about our shared sense of reality. I mean, if we can't even agree on basic facts like the cost of living, or whether the economy is growing or shrinking, how on earth are we supposed to solve any of the big problems we face?